Hello everyone, I'm Justin Joseph from Project COE.com, and today I'll be bringing all of you out there our video review for Dragon Blade Wrath of Fire on the Nintendo Wii. Okay, let's get something established here. If you're here for a positive critique on this game, you are absolutely in the wrong place. Dragon Blade isn't necessarily a horrible game, but it's just so fundamentally broken in just about every facet that pretty much everything you're about to hear from me is going to be mostly negative. So if you don't want to hear that, then I suggest you leave now. But if you kind of eat that stuff up, then by all means continue listening. Let's just start with the graphics here. Dragon Blade as a whole is basically PS1 quality, and that's obviously very pathetic because that's 2 generations ago. The game just has so many poor, blurry textures. The environments are just bland, etc., etc. I mean, even the enemy and boss models end up looking better than the main character himself, who's Dao, and that's just sad. And even the cutscenes, of which there are only a few, are just downright embarrassing because even a game that was from that era, Final Fantasy VII, looks better than what this game puts out. It's just, I don't understand it, and that's something I have to point out. I mean, fortunately, I don't even know if you would say fortunately, but the animations are the saving grace, just not graceful enough to save the game when it comes to the, the actual Dragon Blade weapon that Dao has and the abilities that he acquires throughout the duration of the adventure with the actual special, like claws and wings and whatnot. With the gameplay, again, it's just broken, fundamentally broken. Pretty much all the attacks are mapped to the motion technology that is housed within the Wiimote. So basically, your up, down, left, and right swipes, are all mapped to gesturing with the remote. It's just the problem is they're only successful about 60% of the time when it comes to the game interpreting what you're doing with the controller. And even whenever you're using the actual special dragon abilities, it's not much better. It's around 80%, which is, obviously better, but still, you cannot ignore the fact that whenever you want to do what you really want to do at any given time, chances are it's not going to happen just because of how poorly the engine was programmed. I mean, if you really think about it, the attacks are really just canned animations that are executed by motioning the controller, so it actually has nothing to do with what you really do with the controller itself, so that's kind of sad. But seriously, after a couple hours, you're just doing the same stupid thing in the same stupid fashion with a plot that just isn't all that interesting at all, and in environments that just look like utter crap. And it also doesn't help that the bosses, which are the main draw of the game, are absolutely formulaic. There's 3 phases to each one, and you have to approach each one with a different strategy, but they're just tough because, again, whenever you want to do what you really want to do, you don't end up doing it, and since you can be really easily beaten down with some of the stronger attacks from not only the enemies but the bosses, then it just does not make this a fun game at all. With the sound, somehow it actually managed to turn out really well. The music is actually pretty darn impressive, and that's really surprising given how everything else isn't all that great. But with the actual presentation, the production kind of having an epic nature to it that might remind you of experiences like The Lord of the Rings or something like that, it tends to, be nod-worthy. And even the effects from your attacks, which are all driven by, the element of fire, it definitely does that justice very nicely, very nicely. It's just very unfortunate that there's absolutely no voiceover. The entire plot is presented through text, and it just, again, with it not being interesting at all in the first place, it makes it even less interesting. So, seriously, I'm sorry if this just sounds like an absolute bash fest, but it actually is, and there's good reasons for that. But I just can't see any logical gamer actually wanting to finish this game just because it feels so dull and is so borderline broken. There's just too many levels that involve too much repetitive action, and given how, the controls are just not mapped well for the technology that the Wii offers, it's just nothing that I can remotely recommend. And that's why Project COE gives this game a 5 out of 10. Take that as you will. It could be lower or higher deserving to you. It just depends on how you feel about these types of games, but this is how I felt, and that's why the game got the score that it did. So, as always, go ahead and view the text review on the website if you would like more information. Hopefully, you enjoyed what I had to bring here today and weren't too disappointed by the all the negativity that I had to bring, but it had to be done, and I played the game, and I got through it, so hopefully, this proves useful to you. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time.